Alright. Howdy y'all, this is Redwolf. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do some damage testing against some bottles I've got. Now there are a couple of different sizes, and that is in part because it's what I had, but it's also because some of them have different wall thicknesses, and I wanted to make a point while I'm doing it, and I think it'll turn out alright. But what I'm going to be using is our self spear. This is our traditional survival spear. I'm going to be using this throwing spear, and I'm going to try and throw it. I may end up having to thrust it just to hit what I'm aiming at. It's not a particularly good, well-made spear. And for our thrusting spears, I'm going to be using this model that I made out of a cold steel Bushman. I'm going to hold it parallel like this so it gets the thrust in there. In part because I want to see what the Bushman can do, and it's going to perform very similar to any other spear, so that's why I'm using a non-traditional looking spearhead. And the last one I'm going to be using is my cold steel man-at-arms wing spear, and I'm using this one. It's bigger, so I think it's going to have more trouble penetrating because of the design. But I'm curious, and I'm going to have to be using this two-handed, and I want to see if there is a difference between a lightweight, easy-to-use, generalized thrusting spear and the heavier big boy as an actual hand spear penetrating weapon, instead of as a self-defense weapon against charges. So I'm going to reposition, and I'm about 2 liters and all that down here, and we'll see what we can get situated. Right. So I've got it kind of zoomed in here. I'm going to try and use this. So I've got this zoomed in here. I'm going to use this to try and so that we can get a good view on how the water reacts to the damage to the container, because I think that's going to be a good representation on how effective the spear design is when used on an actual target. And so far my plan is just to do an underarm strike against these. Let's see, that's what I was afraid of. We still got a pretty good point, so I'm going to try and hit it a little bit harder. Alright. See, we got some good scuff marks on there where I'm hitting it. But this is a problem that you run into with the self spear, the lowest, the least evolved form of the weapon. So I'm going to go in for a two-handed thrust and just see if we can get this to work. Nope. Alright, so since this has survived our testing so far, I'm going to just leave it there, and we'll move on to the next weapon. Alright. Let's scoot this up a little bit. Okay. So weapon 2 is going to be our little thrown javelin. See how she goes. See, got that 1 foot range where I normally hit. Man, I clobbered the tar out of that root. There we go. Okay. So this will be take 2, our little thrown spear. Okay, so you can see we got our hit in here. You can see we got a pretty good amount of fluid popping out of there. I'm going to try and hit it again with the primitive spear and see if weakening the surface pressure helps. You can see, and all I did was dent it right there. But what happens with the wound channel is outside the initial push in, you get this really long slit. I mean, this is bigger than my hand. And you can see how fast the exsanguination happens. And that's one of the primary, your primary method of lethality with the spear is penetration depth plus exsanguination. And we actually cut through all the way over here on the other side. That worked pretty good. That was my, case I decided to edit out, that was actually my third throw. I keep missing just the barest little bit with these, which is one of the reasons why I don't like them for survival options. Alright, so we're going to reset. And this time we're going to use our big old 2-liter. Alright, so we're still pretty good in here. So, because of how hard I think it's going to be to hit, I'm going to go ahead and use my 2-hander. And it's going to be a 2-handed power thrust into here. Alright, you can see we're just automatically out of water. So, not a lot to say about that. That actually went in a little bit better than I thought it was. You can see the tearing because of the profile on this. Wow. And just, I mean, no effort to push it in. That's nifty. Alright, so I'm going to reset with my Bushman right fast. It should still be within frame. Alright, so this is going to be a smaller target, which means if this doesn't penetrate the outer layer effectively, it's going to go flying as the force transfer happens instead of doing damage to it. So this first one, instead of a 2-hand, we're going to do just a single hand thrust and see how it works. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty legit right there. Yeah, that went in, with this 1-hand, that probably went in easier than the 2-hand with the 2-handed spear. Just clean lines there. That's some damage. Alright, y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope it clears a few things up. Really happy with how everything performed. It was about what I expected. This the Bushman combo honestly did better than I expected. Hope y'all enjoyed the little demonstration. I hope that gives you some data, some design information type stuff to chew over a little bit. And let me know if you got any thoughts, anything you want to know, anything you want to see in the comments. I'll try and get to it. Till next time, this is Redwolf signing off. Y'all keep up the good fight.